Hey friends, today I want to talk about the pulse rifle section of the recent hotfix article and how it fared in my near 12-hour play session yesterday. I was absolutely gassed. Anyhow, it reads, reduced aim assist fall off start at 100 range by 10%. Reduced damage fall off start at 100 range by 5%. And finally, increase recoil by 20% on mouse and keyboard only. Keep in mind that mouse and keyboard already has a recoil reduction innately, so 20% sounds like a lot, but what it really is bridging the gap closer to controller. Right now, controller might be ever so slightly better on the recoil department, but I would argue mouse and keyboard has an easier time adjusting for that anyway. And before I take the article off the screen, go ahead and look at below that highlighted section. It says lightweight, reduce BXR 55 battler zoom from 20 to 18. And I have a pretty big bone to pick with this from both a gameplay perspective and from a keeping it one-to-one with Halo perspective. Since the BXR is not the focus of this video, I'm going to summarize my complaints with it. So here we go. Gameplay-wise, I have never seen somebody start with a hand cannon, start getting gunned by a pulse rifle, and switch to the battler. It's almost always no time to explain or some other aggressive like messenger. Lightweights just are not good enough. It's a .87 time to kill, and even though you do have the flexibility of hipfire, not every player can capitalize on that at a high level. So it's an extreme rarity to see the BXR, despite it being one of my favorite choices. And it's mostly because it's a Halo replica, and not because it's the best choice. If I wanted the best choice, I would just continue using No Time to Explain or Revision 0. It doesn't compare. The saddest part about the BXR going from 20 to 18 is that it used to have rangefinder. So it would bring the zoom up to 19.8, something like that, which is really close to 20 and really close to that one-to-one feel. But of course, you would lose out on a perk like the BXR perk, the namesake perk, which is a callback to a Halo button combo involving melee and shooting. So now back on track. I think some of the popularity of the BXR is attributed by it being one of the easiest weapons to obtain that is decent for both paying players and free-to-play players. You get it from Dares of Eternity, doesn't matter what weekly rotation. You get a free one from Xur. Of course people are going to use it. Then secondly, it's a Halo replica, so even non-Destiny fans might pick this game up and immediately gravitate towards that weapon. And thirdly, the map and mode as well as ability potency is making people lane more often. So they choose a laning tool like a scout rifle or a pulse rifle. And now going back to those first two things, it's a popular choice. So people are going to lane with the popular choice. Popular doesn't mean powerful. That's all I want to say on the BXR. Now talking about the actual most powerful pulse rifle, the No Time to Explain. And believe me, I have the time to explain it. Mostly because of ad revenue. Anyhow, look at this clip in the background. This is the culmination of the nerf right here, right in front of your eyes. So what you're seeing is a missed 2-burst, but if you go frame by frame, you can see that the bullets do correct to the face, but it does not award a headshot. And I'm not saying it should. It's just not all weapons in Destiny play by the same aim assist rules, and you can feel both the recoil and the aim assist change. But even despite both of those, it doesn't dethrone No Time because it's not just a pulse rifle. It's an alternate win condition. By landing headshots, you build up a perk that builds up a turret, which helps your time to kill and consistency, something of which the gun recently got slightly wounded. I would just say scratched. It is still very possible to consistently 2-burst if you put a long enough play session in to get used to the recoil. I would advise a very slight playstyle change if you're going to continue using No Time. Instead of going for a 2-burst pick all the time, I would say play very safe, put a single burst in, and start working towards the perk. Once you have the perk, then you can start taking 2-burst picks, those long-range challenges, because you will notice the damage fall off. You might miss a bullet here or there because of either the aim assist or recoil, or a combination of all three. A surprising thing about No Time to Explain is written there right in the description, which is that it builds up the perk by body shotting slowed targets. The gun came out in Beyond Light, so it doesn't surprise me that it has stasis synergy, and yet I don't see a lot of teams taking advantage of it. If you have a stasis hunter on your team, it's almost always worth giving them No Time to Explain because of how much more likely it is to hit the perk. And before you're like, I always hit headshots or whatever Kovac score you have, there are situations in PvP where a headshot is not possible. It might be a slanted wall, someone might be reviving with an awkward animation, and the list goes on. What I really want to get across is that PvP is not played in a vacuum, so anything that eases you getting to the perk means that the gun is going to perform better. In a similar vein, I think everybody would get a lot of value out of the Headseeker perk if it rolls on a certain pulse. I know it does on Stars and Shadow, but the Messenger is not obtainable right now, so I don't really want to recommend something you cannot get. And yes, I know they just came out with Legacy Focusing, but I don't think the Messenger is in the Trials loot table. Correct me if I'm wrong. But you know what would be crazy? Is if the Messenger did come out, I bet they would see like a lot of popularity spike on the high impact pulse rifles, and maybe those specifically would get adjusted so that the BXR could compete more, and I guess the other archetypes of pulse rifles. I know that the rapid fire is pretty popular on console from what I hear, and I do see it on PC from time to time. This is usually the case where somebody is sniping with the sidearm, they run out of snipe, and then they just switch to a rapid fire pulse. That's when I see it come out. And also on big maps like Eternity, they usually pair it with a main ingredient or some other fusion rifle. But at the end of the day, if someone's trying to win, they always throw on the high impact, and it's usually no time to explain. From this play session alone, I can tell you it probably needs another tangible nerf so that the other pulse rifle options are more appealing and competitive, because as it stands, the perk is really, really strong and easy to activate. So it leads to it exacerbates an already laney passive playstyle. One change I think they should maybe experiment with is if you put the gun away, you don't get to keep the perk, like at all. You build up to 9, you're about to hit the 10th, oh, but somebody pushes you with the shotgun, you switch to the shotgun, you win, then you switch back to your pulse rifle, it's now at 0. The perk itself could also be given a time restriction of 30 seconds to where you have to deal headshot damage to even have the ability to build up the perk, and then they could even reduce the magazine size to prioritize hitting criticals in the first place. Otherwise, you get hard punished. Remember, if you hit crits, it reloads automatically. So with only 3 bullets, you have infinite ammo if you're a perfect player. So even if they cut that down from 24 to, 18, you would still have enough ammo to be involved in multiple kills even if your aim is not perfect. And yet the opponent would also have an opportunity to contest this gun without having to resort to throwing it on themselves. In summary, I think there needs to be an element of risk-reward and an opportunity for your opponent to recognize when they can mess up the flow of a no-time user. I want there to be a future for no-time where, instead of internally thinking, man, really, laning with no-time, your first thought is, wow, this person is really, really good with no-time. I think that's about all she wrote on this pulse. I will see you in the next one. Hope you enjoyed.